Yes, ladies and gentlemen, episode 87 of Pokemon Horizons titled The Guidance of the Black Rayquaza just dropped, and in this episode, our heroes finally confront Gibeon. Something major is going to happen here, so let's talk about it. Gibeon arrives at the deepest part of Laqua with his Zygarde, where a giant crystal Laquium stands. He says that this massive Laquium crystal is basically the graveyard of Lucius, marking the spot where the events of the flashback that we saw from Bristol happened. Meanwhile, his white Zygarde summons all of his cells, transforming from his 10% form into its 50% form. Seeing his Pokemon regain his prior strength, Gibeon attempts to stand and do the same, but collapses immediately. He relies on a piece of Laquium crystal to grant him strength, at least temporarily, and just as he prepares to use his Zygarde to dig up the Laquium, Amethio appears behind him. Amethio tries to plead with his grandfather, telling him that Spinel's trying to take advantage of him by creating a monopoly on Laquium. He brings up the Laquium sphere that we first saw a few episodes back in Spinel's computer, but his grandfather seems fine with it. Amethio then questions whether Laquium is even righteous due to the pain that it inflicts on Pokemon. Amethio says he doesn't want his Pokemon to go through that. He says there must be another way to help people in Pokemon, but Gibeon rejects his ideas and instead tells his Zygarde to start digging the Laquium. This makes the Laquium react, sending a cloud of smoke into the air that gets everyone's attention nearby. Friede starts flying over to check it out, and before the explorers can keep fighting the kids, Zerk and Onia show up in the battlefield and hold back the explorers' Pokemon. Roy takes a chance to call out his Kilowattrel and head for the Laquium, while Liko and Dot have their Pokemon use Brutal Swing to clear a path so that they can run over there. Even Friede's Charizard swoops in and uses Flamethrower to stop Coral from chasing the kids. Spinel is there where the Laquium is being mined. Amethio and him talk, but he just dismisses Amethio. Our heroes then show up to where this is happening, and Friede tells the kid that the Laquium is overflowing, and if Gibeon's able to get the Laquium that he's mining, it's probably going to make Laqua collapse again. Terapagos, seeing this, calls the other 6 hero Pokemon. Gibeon starts to panic a bit and tells Zygarde to dig faster, but instead, Zygarde slams into the giant crystal and it cracks. Inside, a person's silhouette. It's Lucius. And seeing this, Gibeon feels betrayed by his Zygarde. We get a bit of an exposition dump here, and it's interesting how they set everything up. It turns out, Lucius is clued in on everything happening in the world thanks to Gibeon's Zygarde cells. For hundreds of years, it had been using its cell from Laqua and around the world to keep an eye out on whether Laquium had affected the ecosystem. It saw the Laquium from Laqua as a threat. We even seen a bonus scene in the after episode thing for Professor Friede's segment, that thing is only in the Japanese version, that the Zygarde cells had even been keeping a tab on our hero's ship while being invisible, and presumably all the villains too. That's how he knows everything and everyone and their names. It's a smart way to allow Lucius to immediately get into the action without having to get bogged down in the introduction of everything, but it does feel a bit too convenient. At least all of Lucius's Pokemon are thrilled to see him, especially Terapagos. We learn from him that Laquium isn't even from this planet. Lucius thinks that all it will do is destroy the world. So, to stop Gibeon's ambition, Zygarde sent a message to Lucius' Black Rayquaza to find a trainer worthy of inheriting Terapagos and the 6 heroes. Once our heroes started their adventure, despite Black Rayquaza's will, it didn't directly guide our heroes, and instead, it was their own adventures and ambitions to help Terapagos that did. Sure. Gibeon, however, questions if that was the case, why he allowed them to destroy the seal that was protecting the Laquium and Laqua, and it turns out that's because Lucius wants to get rid of the Laquium fully, and he thinks that our heroes are the only one who can help him do that. There's a lot of questions here about how Lucius is even alive, but I'm gonna skip over that because I have a feeling that he's not actually there, which is why he's having Liko do everything. Regardless, Gibeon responds and talks about how Laquium could allow people to live longer and stronger, but Lucius responds and says that he doesn't think they should mess with the natural order of the world. He also says that Laqua doesn't need Laquium anymore because there's already a flourishing energy cycle there. Lucius also says that humans shouldn't have it because it releases wicked energy and it affects the environment as well as causes Pokemon to go berserk. But Spinel doesn't care about any of that. He just wants to use Laquium to experiment on and see what it can do and what it has potential to do. Spinel convinces Gibeon to allow him to start the mining operation. Spinel starts off this process by having the other explorers next to a drill, and then he brings out his Magnezone to power it up. We learn here that Gibeon and Spinel are really after the core of the Laquium. The core would produce Laquium infinitely, and Lucius says that would be beyond human control, but Spinel responds that they already have science to stop it. I think this is most likely what the Laquium sphere thing is about. The mining causes more Laquium to react, and since Friede's Pokemon are weakened from their battle, they're affected by the Laquium gas, causing them to attack each other and knock each other out. Amethio tries to stop the machine by having Cerulege attack the machine, but Coral's Glalie stops it. Lucius then says that he doesn't care if the world perishes from Laquium because only the people who take up the power of Laquium should live in this new era. Very Lysander coded. Lucius then then tells Liko to have the 6 hero Pokemon give Terrapago strength. Terrapago transforms into its terrestrial form. Gibeon then says that his life has been devoted to Laquium despite being betrayed by Lucius and Ristle. Lucius tries to talk him out of it, saying that he regrets not talking more to him before and apologizing, but he says it's too late. Gibeon asks White Zygarde to battle for him, even though they believe in completely different things, because he's his partner Pokemon. He's lost all of his friends and only Zygarde's been around with him the whole time. And in a shocking and not really making sense turn, Zygarde decides to help Gibeon all of a sudden. Why? Gibeon says that he had intended on Amethio being an heir to the explorers, but no longer. So instead, Amethio says that he's going to fight to protect his grandfather. He asks our heroes to come help out in battle, and they decide to do so. The episode ending with everyone terrestrializing, getting ready to battle White Zygarde and Gibeon. This episode has a lot of exposition. The explanation of Lucius feels kind of haphazard. I could understand him surviving because of the Laquium, that's been established, but Zygarde somehow sharing with him everything that's going on in the world just feels so unbelievable. Regardless though, I do like the fact that the show is making it clear that he isn't the main character anymore. Maybe he was during his day, but Liko is the most important character here. She's the one who gets to call all the other hero Pokemon to lend their strength, and she's the one fighting in the climactic battle, not him. He seems really just to be a plot relevant device in order to give more background information to our heroes. That's also the case with Friede, who isn't going to be involved in the final battle because his Pokemon have knocked each other out. That's all fine and dandy. The Zygarde thing though does not make sense to me. Clearly, Zygarde wants to make sure the world doesn't get destroyed by Laquium, yet it still chooses to help Gibeon. I don't understand the inconsistency at all. I guess it's trying to say the relationship between a trainer and its Pokemon is so strong, but that can only take you so far when the fate of the world is at stake. Whatever. Now that everything is set up and we know what the final battle is going to be, I'm wondering where the story is going after this. This is the climactic battle. The next episode preview looks absolutely insane in terms of animation. So what's going to happen after that? Will our heroes lose and have to regroup? And if they don't, then what? I have a feeling that maybe Spinel will be the main antagonist going forward. Whether by himself or with the other explorers, that remains to be seen. What are his plans? There's so many questions still swirling around for me, and I'm really fascinated to see how this all comes together. I can't wait. But what about you guys? What did you guys think about this episode? Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and that's it. I will talk to you guys later. Peace.